We're here at ComiConway with Nolan. So tell us about creating one of the greatest villains in history.
What do you want to know?
Oh, your inspiration, honestly.
Okay, well, Bane is a story-driven character that was needed for this whole arc that was already decided by Denny O'Neil. He wanted to show the fans that were clamoring for a more violent Batman why that's a bad idea. So we had to take Batman out and replace him with somebody else. To do so, we needed a villain that didn't exist in Batman's rogues gallery. So, because there were smart guys and there were strong guys, but there was never a guy that was really smart and really strong all in one. And then as far as his look goes, we needed a costume for him because it was the 90s, and also we wanted to brand him and trademark him. So we needed a look. So I tried to figure out what would inspire a man like this to create a look for himself. What would he be inspired by? And because of where he was growing up, I figured, well, if he'd seen any kind of costuming, perhaps it would have been Mexican luchador. He's Latino, or at least half Latino. I figured that would be a good starting point.
So since this is your masterpiece and your creation, how do you feel like the movies portrayed your creation? Beginning in the first set, and then the new style. I mean, do you think they really grasped your art?
No. In the first one, at least I can recognize a photograph of that guy as Bane.
Right.
In the Tom Hardy one or Christopher Nolan versions, I wouldn't know who that is. It doesn't look like Bane. And then it isn't Bane as a character either, because at the very end of that story, spoiler alert, he's a patsy. He's a patsy for Talia.
Right.
And that's just not Bane. And
he spoke like an English gentleman, which was totally off character.
There's no sense of his Latino heritage and where he grew up and all that kind of stuff. So it's two fails.
Any future plans for movies or anything you're working on now with anybody?
I've got a couple books that I've got coming out. I have a sequel to a graphic novel I wrote called Monster Island is coming out shortly, called Return to Monster Island.
Okay.
And then I'm writing a series for Aftershock called The Girls of Dimension 13.
Okay.
And then I'm working on a secret project with Chuck Dixon again.
Wow.
That has a movie tie-in. So,
well, there you go.
I'm staying busy.
Here at ComiConway, we have a married couple here that's rocking and rolling in the art industry, creating something amazing. So tell me a little bit about yourselves.
We're Mitch and Elizabeth Breitweiser. We've been in and around the comic book world for collectively probably nearly 30 years now.
Wow.
I'm an artist who kind of got my big break on Drax the Destroyer, redesigning that character to his kind of contemporary look, and known for a lot of Captain America work. And Elizabeth, we got married soon after I started, and then she became she was a painter turned comic book colorist.
Yeah, so I've worked in the industry for Marvel, DC, and Image Comics for the last decade as a color artist.
Wow. So what is a colorist, and why is that so important to tell a story?
Yeah, so color is actually the first thing your brain recognizes. It triggers you to warnings, to food, to, it elicits mood and can help lead the viewer's eye around the page. A colorist also provides the lighting and really helps create the focus and create the energy. It helps the reader to understand what kind of atmosphere you're in and what kind of mood, and emphasizes that in a very short way. To break down our relationship, so Mitch handles the black and white illustrations. So he creates the beautiful the illustrations that tell the story, and then the color artist takes that black and white illustration and applies color to tell the mood, to lead the eye around the page, to create the lighting and the atmosphere.
So you guys do this mainly on paper, or you do it on computers now? I mean, I know it's transitioned a lot.
Yeah,
I've been using the computer, so I mean, it's hard, but it's fast.
we are in this century, so we are using computers. I still ink by hand. We have to move quickly, and the computers facilitate that. Gives you a lot of control and allows us to achieve some really unique effects. As an artist, I still work by hand. I ink my pages by hand, but I'll draw them in the computer, so they always start. It's kind of interesting because everything starts in the computer by the drawing, and then it's done by hand, and then I scan them back in and then give them to her, and she colorizes them in the computer. So
So how excited are you to think that someday someone's gonna be walking around cosplaying one of your characters?
Oh, we love it. In fact, with the success of our Red Rooster book, just on crowdfunding, we had a couple of people send us, pictures of their babies dressed up as Red Rooster for Halloween, and so we're already seeing some of that, and
it's wild.
It's humbling. It's beautiful. It's it's incredible when you actually see that you've inspired someone to dress up as your character, and for them to take that time and care to do that. So we're super excited. Hopefully, we'll have some contest or a way to highlight and showcase the people who do take the time to do that. And so pay attention to our online social media presence and stuff. And if anybody is inspired, we definitely want to share their work and highlight it.
Yeah, share it with the world. Yeah.
So you've worked at Marvel, you worked at DC. What brought you back to Arkansas? I mean, are you from here?
From here. We're both from here originally. I grew up in Benton, and she grew up in BB, was born in Pocahontas. And we both went to college here in Arkansas at Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas. And I left college and went straight to the Manhattan, New York City area and stayed there for a number of years with the specific goal of breaking out into comic book publishing, and that's really where you needed to be. It's this is kind of pre-social media and pre all this kind of stuff, so you really had to network by hand. So I went right up there and did that. After meeting enough people, landing some exclusive contracts, and then coming back to Arkansas was pretty high on my list. Because I love it here. I love the people here. I'm just an Arkansan at heart, and I can't think of anywhere I'd rather be, except maybe on a beach, but not all the time. Just on occasion, just a visit.
Yeah.
And then come back home again. And then we met after I moved back from New York and came to Arkansas.
But we love Arkansas so much. This is where our families are. We think this is a beautiful state, full of potential, lots of talent, like we talked about. And so to have the opportunity to start this company here, and we've been very fortunate to work with some of the biggest talent, artists, writers, and publishers, and to be able to tap that talent and bring it back to Arkansas is very exciting for us, and I think very exciting for our distribution partner and for our retailer partners as well. And so we would love just to stay here and to create this kind of cultural, initiative here in Arkansas and see what we can do.
And we've had the great fortune to bring several artists and writers into the state just as visitors, and they've all been very taken. And they love it. And
little hidden gem of this, Little Rock, at Bentonville, Rogers area, all of it.